The Russian atrocities in Ukraine are heartbreaking. It all overshadows what's happening to the animals. An update on PETA's animal rescue efforts in Ukraine. Next on the PETA Podcast. Welcome to the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this inside look at animal rights. Brought to you by PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On today's episode, after more than a month, here's some good news from Ukraine. PETA Germany's animal rescue teams have saved more than 1,000 animals, mostly cats and dogs, and brought them to safety in neighboring countries. Some were brought in sick and near starvation, like a lucky black cat, are now thriving. PETA has brought in 200 tons of vegan food for the hungry animals. PETA Germany's Sylvie Bunz talks about how the rescue effort is evolving and how the team keeps their spirits high as they try to save animals left behind. She says Europeans are trying to cope with what looks to be a long, protracted war. Here's my conversation with PETA Germany's Sylvie Bunz on the PETA Podcast.
I think all Germans have the feeling that Ukraine is very close to us because it's only about 2,000 kilometers far away, the border of Ukraine. On the eastern side of Germany is Poland, and behind Poland is Ukraine, and in Ukraine is war. So we have the feeling that it's very close to us. But of course, at the moment, we are happy that we are safe here in Germany, but we all know that the situation can change. Nobody knows what will happen or what will happen the upcoming weeks or months. The situation is very hard and it changes day by day. And the fighting goes on and a lot of people are dying in Ukraine. So it's a very, very worse situation at the moment.
So when you're there, sort of controlling what goes on as you dispatch the PETA animal rescue teams to Ukraine, give us an update on what's been happening the last 2 weeks and what kind of problems and what kind of, what are the success stories and some of the problems that have come up in the last 2 weeks?
To begin maybe with something positive, I can say that we rescued nearly 1,000 animals right now, cats and dogs. They are safe now. They are in Polish and German shelters at the moment, and they can get calm there, and they get veterinary help and veterinary care. And we, of course, brought a lot of dog and cat food deep into Ukraine. We transported more than 200 tons until now, and we brought food to Lviv, Kharkiv, Kyiv, Odessa, and all the little villages in the surrounding of this city. But of course, the situation also changed because the restrictions at the borders, they are very hard now because the beginning of the war passed away. So this first feeling of this is new, what's going on, how will it be, this changed. So there is a new routine at the borders. And from now on, we have the normal restrictions, and the restrictions to bring animals from Ukraine to EU, they are very hard. So it's no longer possible to bring a lot of animals across the borders. And we have to find new ways now. We have to find a new route to help animals. So Poland is not longer a good place for us. And we're trying to establish a new system via Hungary at the moment.
So it's kind of like it's always fluid in the sense that you don't know if rules are going to change, but you still manage to save, to date, over 1,000 animals. That's really
yes.
That's really something.
Yes, this is really amazing, and we did it together with other organizations. So at the moment, we all help each other as good as possible, and we need to go on with this kind of work, and we have to try new ways to help animals. So Hungary will be our new point to start rescue missions, I hope.
Now, I say, it's great you saved 1,000 animals, but what does that mean in terms of making some progress on the actual need that's there in terms of the animals who must be saved?
Of course, in Ukraine, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of animals who need help, and we are not able to help all of them. We need to be honest with this. There are so many problems in Ukraine. We can't help every animal, even if we would like to help, but it's not possible. There are so many animals in the industrial farming. There are animals in zoos and aquariums. There are so many homeless animals. It's not possible to rescue all of them.
I know that the latest group of animals that you're trying to help specifically are the horses and the donkeys.
Yes.
Tell me about the situation here. Are these horses who are still being cared for by their humans? Are they loose? What is the situation with the horses and donkeys?
In Ukraine, there are thousands of horses, and we got an information about horses around Odessa. And these horses are still with their people, but they really need something to eat. So we try to organize food via Germany. We bought horse food and donkey food. I think it's mostly horses who are in need at the moment. And the first transport with horse food will start tomorrow from Germany to Odessa. And in Odessa, there are waiting round about 100 to 120 horses that we bring them something to eat. Without PETA, they would die the upcoming weeks. There is no food anymore, and there is ice and snow, so they cannot bring the horses outside to eat grass. There is no grass at the moment. So we need to bring food, and we will do it.
How much longer will the weather be, cold and snowy with ice? Because that's working against the efforts to help.
Yes, it is. I cannot tell you at the moment because we have this climate change situation and nothing is like it was the years before. So at the moment, it is cold and frosty in Ukraine. It also is in Germany. I have a little bit of snow today. So I think it will need maybe about 4 or 5 weeks until the grass will grow again and until horses and cows can go out to eat something. It's a very dangerous situation for the horses, and a horse needs very much to eat. So it's a very new challenge for us because feeding cats and dogs is one thing. These are small animals, but a horse needs a lot of food every day to be healthy.
And so you just mentioned the real one of the real issues between the domestic animals, which are easier to maybe rescue and care for, and the farm animals. And we know that Ukraine is primarily ag in nature. We don't really see much of that. We see Russia shelling the cities, and we see the buildings being shelled and people there. What is the situation like in the rural communities? Are animals and people all right? What is the situation with what's happening with in the ag society of Ukraine?
Yeah, I got the info from people in Ukraine that at the countryside, the situation is mostly better than in the middle of the war. But of course, the whole situation in Ukraine is very hard. Ukraine is a very poor country. It always is a very poor country. This is not the cause of the war that's happening at the moment. And at the moment, the situation changes because the people cannot buy enough food for their animals, all animals. Cows, horses, chickens, dogs, cats, all these animals are in need. The situation is not that dangerous, mostly on the countryside at the moment, but you never know what will happen next. So there have been bombs in areas that have been one day before they have been safe, and some hours later they had bombs and they have been attacked. So you never know what will happen next. This must be a horrible feeling to live there at the moment.
Tell me, are there things you're not able to do that you would like to do?
Of course, there are always things we would love to do. It would be great if there would be peace. And it would be great if we could help all animals in need. But I'm realistic. I know this is not possible at the moment. So I think it would be wonderful if we now start to think about the situation, what will be when peace will come again. We need to make first plans. How we can help Ukraine to build better places for animals, how we can maybe try to build up a project like we have in Romania, a very vital and helping project that helps homeless animals, for example. They will need a lot of help in the upcoming times, years, maybe years when the war is over, but nobody knows when this will happen. It can be that it is in some months, in some weeks. It can take years. Nobody knows at the moment.
And how long do you expect the PETA Germany effort to continue? Is it able to continue indefinitely, or is there a need for some help to make sure it does continue indefinitely?
I think PETA Germany needs to help without an end at the moment. So the way we help can change from time to time. In the first weeks, we rescued a lot of animals via the Polish border. Now this situation is getting harder and we need to try new ways. Via Hungary, for example, we need to see how long this will work. But then PETA will be needed in the upcoming months and years to rebuild all the things that are broken in Ukraine, all the shelters, all the animals in need, all the humans with animals in need. So at the moment, I have the feeling that it will never end, that PETA helps in Ukraine, like in Romania and many other countries in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, and what about the animals that you were able to save, and now they are in various places in Poland, some in Germany? What about on that end? Is there the support and the infrastructure to keep caring for more as you bring them over?
There is the situation to keep carrying, but this is a theme with high responsibility for the animals. Rescuing animals means more than bringing them over a border, because behind the border, maybe there is peace, but animals are our little furry friends for years. So we can not only bring them over the borders, we need to take responsibility for making them happy, for giving them good families where they will have a wonderful life. And at the moment, I have the feeling that there are so many animals in need. It will not be possible to find good families for them in Germany, Netherlands, and all the countries where these animals need to go to, because the countries where they first come to, Hungary, Romania, Poland, these are very, very poor countries. They have their own problems, so the animals cannot stay there. We cannot bring animals from one poor country to another poor country. This is not what rescuing for PETA means.
So it does mean that you have to limit some of your effort to be effective, huh?
Yes, we have. Of course, we have. This is the same what organizations for humanitarian aid also need to do. It is not possible in such critical situations to help any human or animal. This is a very, very hard and sad reality, but this is reality. And this shows why it is so important what PETA is doing since more than 25 years. We need to stop animal abusement all around the world, because we have this situation, not the war situation. This is a political question, but we have all this abusement of animals at the moment because people are not good and fair with animals. Why are there so many animals in the industrial agriculture? Why are there animals in zoos? Why are there so many homeless animals?
Well, that's true. I mean, if we could solve those problems, animals not in factory farms, animals not in zoos, that would sort of lift a big part of the problem if we
Yes,
treated them fairly and treated them well. So at this point, you've got problems in Ukraine, and you have problems once you bring the animals over. The long-term issue then is we need to change our basic relationship to animals, so
yes.
not to find ourselves in this situation.
Yes, it is. And it will be a very, very long way in Ukraine and in a lot of other countries to change the whole situation for animals. But it is so, so important to do it. And so we are very happy that so many donors support PETA by doing this job, because the whole story will never end if you only try to rescue animals. This will never be the solution. So we need to bring help into Ukraine. We need to bring education about animals into Ukraine. We need to build up positive shelter, good places for animals. We need to bring spay and neuter programs. We need to bring mobile clinics. We need to do political work. All the things we do in Romania, we need to do in a lot of countries, and especially in Ukraine at the moment, when the war will end one day.
I mean, there are animal rights activists in Ukraine who are local, but if PETA wasn't doing this, there would be a huge void. There would be a lot more suffering. Without PETA, it would be far worse.
Yes, I think it would be like that. And of course, in Ukraine, there are wonderful people. They help animals and they stay in their country at the moment because they don't want to leave the animals. They bring them food, they bring them water. And this is absolutely necessary at the moment. But for long term, if we have a view into the future, this will not be enough.
Sylvie, how does an activist like you, who has been with PETA for a long time, and so you know how these things go, but this has got to be is this the worst catastrophe that you've had to deal with, or is this something that from time to time you'll see something like this, but it's something that can be helped and can be overcome?
I, of course, know that that in several countries all over the world, there are these bad situations for animals. There are poor countries, countries with war, with horrible situations. But at the moment, because it's only 2,000 kilometers away, it's a very, very hard situation for all of us, because every day we get so many emergency calls and emails, people asking for help, people for rescuing animals, infos about bombed shelters, about hungry horses, about injured animals in zoos. At the moment, it's all together. So everything is happening every time. So
Yeah.
normally at PETA, we are making plans and we have a strategy, how it will work, what we will do. At the moment, it's not possible to make plans.
It's just an emergency situation.
It's an emergency situation, and it's an emergency situation for animals and humans. And every day in the morning, I start reading the online newspapers to have a look what happened the last night, the last hours, because every day the whole situation changes.
Yeah. And so tell me how many when I talked last to PETA Germany, you had 3 teams going in, something like not that many people. It's like maybe less than a dozen people, and they've got to be pretty tired, going 24 hours to get from Germany down to Ukraine, because they're going into the country. What are they saying, and how are they holding up?
At the moment, they all need a little rest. They all need to find new power and new energy because they now saw that at the Polish border, it doesn't work very well at the moment. It took too long to rescue less of animals. Sometimes the customs at border told them, no, you cannot pass. You have to bring the animals back. And it was very, very hard for the team. So we need to change. We need to find a new system and a safe system. A safe system, again, a safe system. Poland was safe, but restrictions became harder. We need to find a new safe system for the animals and for the team.
And so the team is holding up. What are you doing to tell them as the team leader to how do you get keep their spirits up, and how do you keep your own spirits up during this crisis?
Because I tell them, and I think it's also the way I tell it to myself, we also have to see the ones we can help. We also have to see the chances we have because we are PETA. We have the chance to help. We have the chance to bring food. Nobody else brought more than 200 tons of food into this country at the moment to feed animals. We have the chance to bring food for horses now. We can rescue animals. We can build a new system. So we always have to see the ones we help. And it doesn't help to see the ones we cannot help. We all know about them, but to go on, we have to see the good results, and we need to make good plans how to go on.
And you talked about tons of food. How many tons of animal food have you brought over now to Ukraine since?
More than 200 tons.
Wow. And because there's no food there, they need food. They need food.
There are some parts in Ukraine they can buy food. There are some shops they opened again, but everything is very, very expensive at the moment. And we try to bring the food into these parts of the country where the shops are closed and where the war is very hard at the moment. So Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, these are really dangerous places, and we have wonderful partner in Ukraine, wonderful volunteers bringing the food to the animals, and there are so many people who are so thankful about this help. So this is what we need to see. We need to be focused.
Yeah. You mentioned zoos earlier. I know the Kyiv Zoo is they had animals. I heard there was an elephant there. How are the animals there doing? And are they just hunkering down? Are they just staying there, or are they being removed and brought to safety somewhere?
I heard that there have been some animals removed to safe places, but I also heard that a lot of animals died that have been in the zoo. They had nothing more to eat, and they have been injured after the bombs. So it's a very, very sad situation, but it's not possible to bring zoo animals to the European Union. This is not possible at the moment.
You were talking about animals that are typically essentially imprisoned in zoos, like tigers and
yes.
And then they're just, and you've heard of fatalities.
Yes. And I think these zoos in Ukraine, they never have been nice places. So these animals always had a hard life. And now the war is in addition to their normal hard life. And for a lot of animals, it will end there. I think they will die.
I mean, I know we mentioned the zoo animals in a previous call. And so I just hadn't heard much about them. We've talked about the farm animals. We talked about the domestic animals. And we know that this situation is going to be ongoing and it's always going to be changing. So, Sylvie, I appreciate the opportunity just to get updates from you. Sometimes it seems that, when you read the news, the Russians say that they're retreating, but as they retreat, there are more artillery shelling of cities, and then the news as we talk today, the news is of Ukrainians taking over areas previously occupied by the Russians, and they're discovering atrocities. And President Zelensky of Ukraine has even accused the Russians of genocide. When you hear the news progress in that way, that can't be a good sign.
No, there isn't. I think, and PETA thinks that the war will go on. The situation is very complex. It's hard for the people in Ukraine. Of course, it is. It is horrible. But animals, they never start a war, but they are in the middle of it now.
Yeah, and so Sylvie, are there stories that, because we're more than a month into this now, and the PETA efforts started just days after the war started, are there stories that you hang on to, that you tell, that just remind you and others that there are positive things that happen, and that maybe individual animals or stories of people going from Germany to Ukraine and saving some animals? Are there some stories that you can share with our listeners to let them know that despite what they see in the news, there's always hope?
There is one little black cat we rescued in the beginning of the war. He was brought to Poland and he was very ill. And now he is much, much better. And he is at a very, very nice place at the moment. And he needs to stay there for about 4 weeks for his quarantine. And after that, he can find a new family. Maybe this is one of the stories that this animal will be happy. And definitely this cat would have died in Ukraine. He would have no chance in this country at the moment. So this is a very positive story. Then all the people who are so thankful for the food we are bringing. I saw so many pictures and short videos of eating, of animals eating our vegan food we brought to them, and they have been so hungry, and they see the food and they start eating, and this is also positive. There are a lot of dogs that really had horrible living conditions around Kyiv. They have been brought to safety now. They are at a very, very nice place in Poland where they can get healthy and have veterinary care. And I saw also pictures of them. They look very good and they look happy, and they live together with other dogs now in a big group of animals. So these animals, they are happy now. These roundabout 1,000, they will have a good life, I think. And that's good.
Those are the positive stories you have to cling to, right? When you don't know what's going to happen from day to day.
Yes, yes, it is like that. And I hope I will see some happy horses next week on pictures.
Happy horses. That means you're thinking of maybe transporting some horses from Ukraine.
No, that is not possible at the moment. But when we bring them food, they will be hopefully happy. To bring horses outside Ukraine is not possible at the moment because the restrictions only allow companion animals to travel when they have EU passport, microchip, vaccination, and quarantine. For non-companion animals, the restrictions are much, much higher and more complicated. But I think these 100 horses around Odessa, they will be happy to get food delivered by PETA.
And that's going to be a good, happy story.
Yes, it will. It will. And I hope we can help more and more animals, can bring more help into Ukraine, whatever the help will be. We try to bring all help that is possible at the moment, and we need to see day by day what we can do. And we may need to make plans for the future, how we can help Ukraine to rebuild their country, to rebuild shelters, to bring help for homeless animals. There's a lot of work to do.
I really appreciate the time that we were able to spend and talk about the situation there. You read the news and you never really hear about these victims. And it's sad because they are important too. And
yes, I think it is very important not to lose hope, even in the middle of this horrible situation. And we all need energy and power to go on to help. And it doesn't help us if we are going to be too sad for a too long time, because we need to be strong to help those who are not strong at the moment. This is the chance we have.
Sylvie Bunz of PETA Germany on the PETA effort to help the abandoned animals left behind in Ukraine. You can help the effort by giving to PETA's Global Compassion Fund right now. Go to the show links to get to that page. For more information, go to PETA.org. And that's our show for today. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to send a link of this show to your friends. Tell them you like the PETA podcast. Contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on Twitter at Emil Amok. That's EMILAMOK. Or see my vlog at amok.com. Or see my writing at ALDEF, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. That's at ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. Once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on your favorite podcast app or on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe to as well as rate and review the show. It helps get the word out about the issues you care about. Our music is provided by CarbonWorks. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.